Welcome to NTD News. Our top story tonight: an explosion in Palm Springs currently under investigation. Video of the aftermath showing a trail of destruction, multiple buildings damaged, and at least one dead. President Trump renewing his push for Russia and Ukraine to end the war, what he's planning for on Monday. Severe storms hitting Midwest and southern states on Friday, with 27 people reported dead and dozens more injured. The U.S. stripped of its final AAA long-term credit rating. The reason? Among them, rising debt and ballooning interest payments. And Trump concluded his Middle East tour on Friday. Lots of deals, but what of it? We dive deep into this trip with an analyst.
This is NTD Evening News, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Paul Graney. Today, law enforcement officers and firefighters responded to an explosion in Palm Springs, California. Reports say the explosion left at least one person dead and several buildings damaged, including a fertility clinic. The Palm Springs city government said in a statement that the explosion occurred this morning. The mayor of Palm Springs confirmed to the LA Times that it was a bomb in or near a vehicle parked at the building. Speaking to the Desert Sun, Palm Springs Police Lieutenant William Hutchinson said the explosion appeared to involve a car parked in front of a reproductive clinic called American Reproductive Centers. That clinic is also an IVF lab. Governor Gavin Newsom's press office said on X that he was briefed on the explosion and that the state is coordinating with local and federal authorities to support the response. We'll be following that investigation and we'll give you the updates. And President Trump said today he will speak to both the presidents of Russia and Ukraine on Monday about a potential ceasefire. In a Truth Social post this morning, Trump said he will call Russian President Vladimir Putin at 10 a.m. on Monday, then speak with Russian-Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and members of NATO afterward. Trump wrote, hopefully it will be a productive day, a ceasefire will take place, and this very violent war, a war that should never have happened, will end. On Friday, delegations from Russia and Ukraine met in Turkey for their first direct talks since the start of the war. Neither Putin nor Zelensky attended. And from a historic trip to the Middle East and key trade deals to a major move on prescription drug prices, the Trump administration was full steam ahead this week. And NTD's Daniel Monahan has your week in review.
Global markets rose sharply after the Trump administration reached a deal with China to roll back most of their recent tariffs for 90 days.
Both sides on the reciprocal tariffs will move their tariffs down 115%.
Trump also struck a deal with India.
And they've offered us a deal where basically they're willing to literally charge us no tariff.
The Trump administration negotiated the release of the last living American hostage in Gaza, Idan Alexander. An offer of a free plane from Qatar that would be used by Trump as a new Air Force One caused controversy this week. Senator Chuck Schumer said he was placing a hold on all political DOJ appointments.
Until we get answers to this corrupt deal between Donald Trump and the Qataris over his plane.
President Trump went on a historic Middle East trip this week in Saudi Arabia, saying a future that generations before could only dream about was within reach.
A land of peace, safety, harmony, opportunity, innovation, and achievement right here in the Middle East.
The president got a golf cart tour from Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Trump met with the new Syrian president, surprising the world by restoring relations with Damascus.
I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness.
In Qatar, Trump said he secured a historic $1.2 trillion economic commitment, and Qatar signed an agreement with Boeing to purchase 160 aircraft. The president's motorcade was escorted into Lusail Palace for the Qatari state dinner. In the UAE, Trump was met by a lavish welcoming ceremony. Trump told President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan that he has absolutely no doubt the relationship between their two countries will only deepen.
Your relationship and mine can't get better, so I can't say it's going to get better because it's at the highest level it can be.
The White House wrote on X it was bringing trillions of dollars in investment back into the USA from the Middle East trip. In health news, President Trump signed an executive order to bring prescription drug prices down for Americans. Democrat Congressman Ro Khanna moved to codify Trump's move.
If I can cross the aisle and support President Trump's executive order and legislation, every Republican should be willing to cross the aisle and support my legislation.
Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard delivered recorded remarks at a privacy symposium held in Venice this week.
Privacy is essential to individual liberty. It's why America's founders enshrined this God-given right in the Constitution.
And in some economic news, inflation fell to its lowest level in more than 4 years, with grocery, egg, and gas prices all down. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And severe storms ripped across Midwest and southern states on Friday, killing at least 27 people, with dozens more injured. Kentucky was the hardest hit, with 18 casualties, according to the state's governor. Most fatalities were in Laurel County, where officials say a tornado touched down around midnight, leaving widespread destruction. Missouri also hard hit, with 7 deaths reported, including 5 in St. Louis. Mayor Cara Spencer released a statement saying more than 5,000 homes had been damaged. Altogether, at least 4 different states reported large tornadoes, and more than 500,000 homes were without power today. And negotiations are underway this weekend after a failed vote in the House's Budget Committee. Republican lawmakers are hung up over inter-party disagreements on taxes and savings. NTD's Melina Weiskup has more on this week's Capitol Hill Roundup.
In a heated committee hearing on Friday, a few fiscal hawks in the Budget Committee tanked a vote to advance President Trump's budget bill.
I am a no on this bill unless serious reforms are made today, tomorrow, Sunday. We're having conversations as we speak, but something needs to change, or you're not going to get my support.
Congressman Chip Roy and other opposers want federal budget cuts to take priority.
We want to get to the savings sooner because the longer we wait, the more we're going to have interest rates, or interest applying to the debt.
That's a suggestion that House Republican leadership is considering. Leader Scalise says changes are soon to come.
We haven't worked out those final details yet, but I think you can expect to move up.
Leadership is also balancing demands from the other end of the GOP political spectrum. Republicans from high-tax states want more state and local tax deductions.
Every member has to go and advocate for their particular needs in their district. And in this case, some of the other colleagues who want a higher number, it's because their counties have higher property taxes.
Negotiations will continue over the weekend, with the next budget meeting set for Sunday night. President Trump told the lawmakers on Friday, quote, "We don't need grandstanders in the Republican Party. Stop talking and get it done." The last-minute hangups come after a week of steady progress. Several of the most controversial cuts were advanced out of committees. Lawmakers stayed overnight to debate changes to Medicaid.
Republicans are stealing health coverage from 14 million Americans so that Trump's buddies can get another tax break. That's the trade-off, working Americans for these guys.
We're making sure that there are going to be work requirements so that able-bodied adults are truly in need of it. That's what we're doing. We're stabilizing this program. To insinuate, to fearmonger that we are trying to kick people off is simply untrue.
The Medicaid changes are meant to reduce federal spending by $700 billion over 10 years. It would require able-bodied recipients to work, targets illegal immigrants on the program, and people would need to prove their eligibility twice a year. Similar changes were approved for the SNAP or food stamps program. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
And this week, Moody's stripped the U.S. of its final AAA long-term credit rating, now down to a AA1. The company cites sustained rising debt and ballooning interest payments among its reasons for knocking down the rating. Highlighted in its decision was what Moody's described as a steady deterioration in fiscal fundamentals across multiple presidential administrations. It also doesn't expect a meaningful cut in the deficit in the years ahead through current policy proposals. On the bright side, Moody's changed the U.S. credit outlook from negative to stable. That's down at the lower AA ranking, citing continued strength in core institutions and confidence in long-term economic resilience. And still to come, President Trump concluded his Middle East tour on Friday. Lots of deals, but what of it? We dive deep into his trip with an analyst. And can anxiety be improved by taking supplements? A psychiatrist and nutritional science expert says it won't be the cure-all, but your brain's diet can make a significant difference. More when we return on NTD News.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjiong Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
Focus on beauty, showcase nature, share kindness, feel brightness. 2025, the 5th NTD International Photography Competition. Capture the beautiful moments in your eyes. Your works will be showcased in galleries and on multiple online platforms, appreciated and collected. Please visit photo.ntdtv.com.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Discover the ancient secret to vitality and longevity with Puretang Black Ginseng. Crafted from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng, each root is carefully nurtured for over 2,260 days, undergoing a traditional 9-round handcrafted process of steaming and drying to unlock full potency and absorption. Experience pure, natural energy with Puretang Black Ginseng. Order now at puretang.com.
Thanks for staying with us this evening. President Donald Trump concluded his Middle East tour on Friday. His last stop was in the United Arab Emirates, where he attended a business forum promoting U.S. companies. Business deals were a big part of the trip, but so was building on existing relationships and making some new ones, like with the leader of Syria, a former member of Al-Qaeda. Joining us now to help make sense of all of this is retired Colonel Darren Gobb, geopolitical strategist, Black Hawk helicopter pilot, and a former battalion commander. Colonel, great to have you on. Thanks so much for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Maybe to set us off, Colonel, I want to play a clip from Trump's speech in Saudi Arabia where he's talking about his vision for the Middle East.
Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that.
Colonel, how does this vision fit into Trump's America First agenda?
Well, I think one of the key things that people are seeing is that just because Donald Trump says he believes in America first, make America great again, doesn't mean that other national leaders aren't putting their people and their countries first too, as they should. And the best way to approach that is to economically tie us together to where both sides of the Atlantic, frankly, can elevate each other. Economic ties among nations are usually far more productive than anything else. And he's tired of, and so are many of us, tired of conflict always being the how these relationships are defined. So that's how I see him doing this: is lead with economics, lead with diplomacy, and then if both of those fail and there's the need for it, then there's some sort of military engagement by necessity, and hopefully we never get there.
Well, you said it, Colonel. When we hear the Middle East, often the next thing we think of is conflict. So what will it take for Trump's vision of the Middle East to actually be realized?
Yeah, that is something that you're not necessarily going to see completed in 4 years, but I think it can have a healthy start. We can look at the nations that are allies of the United States, even though they may not necessarily be democracies or agree with the kind of government that we have. But either way, they're the countries that are there with the nation, with the national leaders that they have. So tying together America with, say, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, and other nations in the Middle East can have a multiple layered effect. And one of those is economic gain for both sides. But you're also looking at the ability to make allies that are less aggressive towards Israel and potentially isolate Iran in the process, who's sort of like the bully on the block that most of them are getting tired of.
But you mentioned it just now, Colonel. Many of the countries that Trump visited, the relationship between them and Israel is so strained that they don't even recognize Israel. Trump, on the other hand, has been an unwavering ally of the Israelis. Why did this not create more tension during Trump's trip?
Well, first of all, I think it's because Trump didn't go to Israel on this trip. He's worked with him quite a bit, and everybody there knows how big of a fan of Israel Trump is. But he did not necessarily make this a Middle East trip plus Israel. It was just those nations of the Middle East, regardless of whether or not they are true friends of any way of Israel, or even if they're not recognizing them in the first place. We can still build a relationship, and maybe over time that can grow towards something like an Abraham Accords again, where even if they don't necessarily have the best relationship with Israel, they're at least saying, this relationship doesn't need to be one of conflict.
Trump also said that one reason for the trip was to mend relations with these countries. He said that because of mistakes the United States had made in the past, the countries aligned themselves more closely with China. Here's a clip of that from Fox News.
They were being coaxed very strongly by China because that solves China's fuel problem forever. And it wasn't their preference, but they were on their way. They were going to China, and that was going to be their parent. And that's not happening anymore.
Colonel, China is now the biggest oil customer of many of these oil-rich Middle East monarchies. What does Trump want from these countries when it comes to China, and what will it take for him to actually get it?
Well, first of all, what he wants from these countries is to tie them back to the West more than to the East. And that's just something that it's not just the Middle East, by the way. He's actually, or at least if I'm reading this right, and this is what I would do as well, trying to see if we can peel Russia away a little bit from the allyship, the allied relationship they have with China also. So put together Russia, China, Iran, the main three, and you see how much they support each other. And if you can peel a little bit away of each of these nations and regions from China, then you're going to get back to the point where the Chinese Communist Party is more isolated than it was before. And this is a China that is economically in decline. And this could speed up that process, which is driving China to be more receptive at the table when it comes to trade negotiations with its chief trading partner, which is us.
Well, considering this competition between the U.S. and China at the moment, how critical are these Middle Eastern countries to China's global ambitions?
China has, well, that's the key, is its global ambitions. There's no region of the world right now that China isn't trying to infiltrate and control. Look, everything from the Panama Canal to Suez to the Belt and Road Initiative to the BRICS currency countries. Everything is about trying to, the Chinese Communist Party trying to put themselves on the top of the totem pole, basically, when it comes to global hegemony. And so they're going to reach out and they're going to try to influence everything they possibly can. I mean, they've been in Afghanistan since 2005, ready to take over when we inevitably, as the United States, left. That is what they're trying to do. Control everything as much as they can. They're also leading with economics. They've just been doing it a lot longer than we have.
Now, during the trip, a big win for the Saudis and others was securing American advanced computer chips for their AI ambitions. We know this is a big area of competition between the United States and China at the moment. So there is concern that these countries getting the chips could allow China to get their hands on them more easily. That would be despite U.S. rules against China doing that. Does that concern you at all?
Yes, that is one area that I think needs to be monitored very closely. I'm not necessarily there personally with full trust when it comes to nations developing artificial intelligence and having the chips that are necessary to make it happen, because they can go from being an ally to an enemy very quickly, and we may have just handed off something that would create them into or make them a much more dangerous enemy. We certainly hope that's not true. To tie this with the other greatest risk of the Middle East trip, which was Trump in Syria, in his statements on Syria. So there's a couple areas of concern, and the chips is one of them.
Talk to us about Syria. Of course, there's a new regime in place there at the moment, with the leader with quite a questionable background, was a member of Al-Qaeda, a terrorist leader. Trump has come under some criticism because of the way he interacted with the Syrian leader and sought to normalize relations there. How do you see it?
I see this as the riskiest maneuver made on the entire trip. And there's a lot of reasons for that you just mentioned. But if you give them a chance and they fail, and whatever failure looks like, and they continue to attract Christians and Alawites and other different ethnic minorities in Syria, clearly they're not going down the road they should be going down, and that is of concern. Of course, their leader's background is of concern as well. But if we're the ones that push them over the cliff into Afghanistan 2.0 as far as being a terrorist haven and training and all of that kind of, and frankly a terrorist exporter, then that would be a little bit on our fault, our fault itself. But if you push them towards potentially realizing at least a little bit of what freedom can look like, economic prosperity can look like, then there's a slim chance. So I don't hold my hopes out too high, though, that with this leadership in Syria that they're going to do anything but turn into some sort of dictatorship that frankly is worse than what was there before under Assad.
Because during the trip, the president kind of suggested that doing business deals was more persuasive and a more efficient way of actually building alliances with countries than trying to align with them ideologically. Of course, there were people who were saying this during the Chinese Communist Party's rise in the 80s and 90s, and it turned out in the end that China used all of the economic gains but didn't change their ideological position or their authoritarian ways in one bit. Is there a lesson here to learn with Trump's seeking to do deals with Syria, Iran, Qatar, etc.?
Yes, and I think that lesson, as you alluded to there, was that a nation can grow massively economically, but not necessarily change their ideology. And unfortunately, then you economically fuel their ability to export that ideology to nations who don't want it. Specifically, the Chinese Communist Party's work inside the United States in multiple areas. We never wanted that. We should never have wanted that. And unfortunately, we're helping fund it. The same could be true with some of these deals in the Middle East. And we have to watch that extraordinarily closely, because if you got something that's even more dangerous than the communist ideology, it's the radical Islamist terrorist ideology that we also don't want to see or fund. So that is something I think that we should not take our eye off of, and we simply cannot allow that to happen.
Colonel Darren Gobb, thank you so much, sir. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Still comes evening. In the NBA playoffs, the Knicks routed the Celtics yesterday as another favorite is eliminated. NTD's Dave Martin joins us to discuss after the break.
I go by Jackie. I'm 44 years old. I had 3 kids at the time and single mother. I was working 60 hours a week. Still couldn't pay the bills. Skipped meals so that they could eat. It's been hard because one thing falls into place, 10 things fall out of place. You know, I just can't do this alone and make it work.
1 in 5 children face hunger in America, and food costs are rising. But everyone needs nourishing food to thrive, and they can when we work together so our neighbors can feed their families. Call or go online right now to join Feeding America with your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Together, thanks to a nationwide network of food banks, dedicated volunteers, and the monthly support of people like you, we can fill plates with nutritious food for families across America.
One day my mother came over to my house and said, "There's a meeting at the pantry." I said, "Okay," and I went. There were some ladies in there. They were from the food bank. They asked several questions. Some of those were about me and my story, but it helped me to open up a little bit.
We're getting closer to the day when no one in America faces hunger, but we can't do it without you. Call or go online now. Visit helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. 98% of donations go directly to help millions of people facing hunger, from coast to coast and in your own community. And when you give by credit card, we'll send you this exclusive canvas grocery bag to show you are a part of a movement of supporters working together to help end hunger.
I have people that I can trust. I have hope.
Please call now or make your monthly donation at helpfeedingamerica.org, and your gift can double in impact.
Say goodbye to harsh, bitter coffee and hello to a delicious, smooth brew. With specialty quality beans, expertly roasted in-house, you'll taste the difference with every sip. Fermented with a blend of 50 enzymes, Days Coffee delivers a rich brew like no other. Made with the highest grade specialty beans available, you're sure to taste the difference. Elevate your morning with Days Enzyme Fermented Coffee.
When it comes to disasters and emergencies, it's not a matter of if, but when.
I'm relying on luck, but who knows if it'll be on my side.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Take control at ready.gov/older adults.
And welcome back to NTD News. Delighted to be joined by NTD's Dave Martin. Dave, how's it going?
It's going well, Paul. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Good to be here. Good to see you. Dave, a lot going on today. Let's start in the NBA. Denver Nuggets' Aaron Gordon seen clutching his left hamstring. Worrying. How big a loss would he be going into the Game 6 against Oklahoma City?
I mean, I think it's huge. It wouldn't be as bad as if it was Nikola Jokic, obviously, that would be worse. I mean, a 3-time MVP. But it's huge for a number of reasons, though. He's hit 2 game shots already in this series. Now, he's not an all-star player, but, he's a very good power forward. It would be very tough to replace him here, obviously, of course. Excuse me here. They have a very thin bench, though. Denver, they really played their starters heavy minutes, and there were the 3 bench players. They're all guards, so there's not an obvious replacement for him at power forward. Plus, in addition to that, Michael Porter Jr., he's banged up right now at forward. He's got that left shoulder problem, and he's still playing despite the injury. But this winner take all also it's going to be in Oklahoma City. Game 7s on the road are very difficult for opponents. Historically, they've won just 25% of the time. So really, the odds are already stacked against them. If Gordon can't go to, I don't know who they turn to, and they're already short-handed. Jamal Murray, he's been sick as well, too. So Denver in a tough spot here going into Game 7. We'll see how bad it actually is tomorrow.
So last night, of course, the Knicks eliminated the Celtics. What'd you make of that?
You know, I originally, of course, picked the Celtics to win the series. Now, certainly once Jason Tatum went down, that obviously altered this series. But I think the biggest thing, though, was when the Celtics lost the first 2 games at home to New York. They blew 20-point leads in both of those games. At that point, you had to win 4 of the next 5 games, and 3 of them are on the road. Let's actually listen to what some of the players said after the game.
I thought start to finish was terrific. And also, want to congratulate the Celtics on a terrific season. Unfortunate injury to Jason Tatum, and but they're a terrific organization, ownership, front office, coaching staff. Joe Mazzulla's a terrific coach, great players, first-class organization. Hats off to them for the season they had and defending their championship.
But this series was different because we had ourselves in deficits that were 20 plus, and we still found a way to win. And that's a testament to these guys. Never not believing that we're going to win a game, regardless of how the game is going, and regardless of the ebbs and flows of a playoff series or a game. This team has tremendous belief in each other. And we believe that anytime we step on the court, we have a chance to win.
So yeah, actually, if you look at the playoff standings here, Cleveland, Boston, and Oklahoma City had really separated themselves during the regular season as the best teams there. But already 2 of them have been eliminated, and Oklahoma City's got to win game Sunday just to move on to the 3rd round. Now, at the beginning of the playoffs, I never would have picked Indiana, the Pacers, Knicks, and Timberwolves to be 3 of the remaining teams at this point. Really, the only of the teams left, I would still say the Thunder are the best team remaining, but like I said, they've got to win Sunday just to go forward. So there's been a lot of surprises in this playoffs.
There you go, exciting. Dave, NHL, 1 game tonight, Stars versus Jets, Game 6. Stars can clinch this series with a win. How likely is it?
I think it's pretty likely. They've been led by Rico Rantanen. He leads all players with 9 goals, 19 points in these playoffs. Now, meanwhile, Winnipeg has this great goalie, Connor Hellebuck, but he's really struggled on the road in this postseason. He's 0-5. He's allowing about 6 goals in the game. Let's look at the NHL playoff standings here. If they lose tonight, then the Stars go ahead and advance to the next round. They would face the Edmonton Oilers then in there. Now, tomorrow, then we've got a Game 7 between Toronto and Florida, the defending champions. The Maple Leafs shut out the Panthers last night 2-0. They have to go on the road and win a Game 7 if they're going to repeat as champions. Winner of that game then faces the Carolina Hurricanes in the conference finals. So both NBA and NHL pretty much at the same point in the playoffs here.
There we go.
Neck and neck.
Last question, Dave. Golf. PGA Championship, was delayed by more than 3 hours this morning. Who's on top of the leaderboard at the moment?
It's been a revolving door pretty much this whole afternoon. Nobody's really taken this, event by storm yet and separated themselves at all. Now, you had Johnny Vegas led after the first 2 rounds. He has not been as good today, unfortunately, but he's still among the leaders. Now, at different points, Davis Riley has led, Bryson DeChambeau, John Rahm's led, but not all of the top players have really fared that well. Second-ranked Rory McIlroy, he's the reigning Masters champion. He barely made the weekend cut. So does number 3-ranked Xander Schauffele. He barely made it too. Neither looks to be in contention right now. Now, number 1-ranked Scottie Scheffler, he is in the mix. Last I saw, he was just a shot off the leaders. Now, of course, a year ago, Scheffler had that bizarre incident here where he was arrested just outside the PGA Championship with that crazy traffic violation. He somehow got released just in time to make his tee time. Had a great day, actually, on the course. A couple weeks later, the charges were dropped. I'm sure he'd like to make a more positive memory this time around at the club.
You think the weather is interfering with these golfers?
For sure. They had if it's wet, obviously that's going to affect where the ball goes. And then if it starts to dry, the players who start later in the day have a bit more of an advantage if you're going on a drier course versus a wet course, obviously. And that's actually what Scheffler was talking about Thursday, because they've had at least 4 inches of rain there this week. So it's been a bit of a problem.
There you go. Dave Martin, have a good one. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
A big question some people can have is, can anxiety be improved by taking vitamins and other nutritional supplements? In this preview of Vital Signs with Brendan Fallon, psychiatrist and nutritional science expert Dr. Daniel Monti says a supplement won't be the cure-all, but your brain's diet can make a significant difference.
Be it from work, from relationships, from study, or other sources, we're all exposed to some level of mental and emotional stress in our lives. While we can't always control those circumstances, we can improve how our bodies and our minds respond to stress. And a crucial aspect of that is through nutrition. Today we break down nutrition for a calmer mind to its three most basic components with the help of brain health expert Dr. Daniel Monti. Which foods spike anxiety? How does brain inflammation disrupt calm of mind? And which nutrients can douse the flames? Join us to probe these and other aspects of nutrition for a healthy mind. Welcome to Vital Signs, where we learn how to get healthier from all angles, from the biochemical and nutritional to the things we do that nourish our minds and our souls. I'm Brendan Fallon. Dr. Monti is professor and founding chair of the Department of Integrative Medicine and Nutritional Sciences at Thomas Jefferson University, where optimizing brain health and micronutrient therapies are among the specialty treatments offered. Dr. Monti, thank you for joining us on Vital Signs after all this time.
Always a pleasure to be with you.
I'm really pleased to have you on to talk about this topic because I see you as a doctor who's at the intersection of psychiatry and integrative medicine that looks at all these very promising, often natural ways of resolving things like anxiety, depression. First up, I want to start by focusing on supplements today. We've heard about different supplements like vitamin D, like magnesium, omega-3 that can be helpful for anxiety. But if someone is having difficulty functioning, if the anxiety is impacting them in different ways in their day-to-day life, could they really expect supplements to have a significant effect on that?
I think your question is really leading to the importance of the answer. Because anxiety needs to be addressed in a multifactorial way. Once somebody has developed true anxiety, then one supplement isn't going to be some cure-all for it. You really need to take a whole life approach to it. I start by looking at any possible causes of the anxiety. Is there something going on in the person's life that is making their current anxiety levels worse? Oftentimes, stress is a big contributing factor. And does the person have effective mechanisms of coping with stress or whatever the stressful situations are? And there's a lot of different directions we can go with that, from meditation to even exercise, but also going back to the original question about supplements, diet in general, because people can be consuming things that make anxiety worse, such as substances that are excitatory to the nervous system, like too much caffeine. Oftentimes people are getting burned out and stressed, and then they're looking to combat that with things that push the nervous system, such as caffeine and other types of stimulants. When we do this, then we're on a perpetual negative cycle. It can make anxiety worse. It can make coping with the stress harder and debilitate the person over time. So what does the diet look like? What types of things is the person consuming? So if somebody is eating a simple carb diet and grabbing lots of convenience, starchy, sugary foods to get through the day, they're going to have these blood sugar ups and downs, these spikes and then crashes. Those spikes and then crashes can contribute to a feeling of anxiety and also take away from the person's overall psychological emotional reserve. So we need to sort of think about those macronutrients. There's the macronutrients, so carbohydrates, fats, proteins, which need to be balanced, because if they're way out of whack, that can also lead to some issues with anxiety. And is it a balanced diet in terms of that? Because we want to make sure that there's lots of healthy fat, to your point about omega-3 fatty acids, even if we have to supplement that healthy fat, because those fats are anti-inflammatory.
You mentioned inflammation there, and this is something I see come up again and again in terms of brain health.
We know that inflammation is a component of mood disorders. We know this. And in fact, even some of the medications that are used for mood disorders, for depression, are shown to have some anti-inflammatory effect, some of them. We know that inflammation is is one of the culprits of neurodegenerative decline.
To see that full interview and others on how to optimize health, go to ept.ms/vital signs. Vital Signs offers general health information not intended as medical diagnosis or advice. Please consult your doctor before undertaking a new health regimen.
Still to come this evening, the Rome Opera House celebrates the 125th anniversary of a first-ever performance. Hidden away in a former pasta factory, the crew is busy rehearsing a new version of the Italian masterpiece. And 5,000 potato varieties give the world a lot to choose from. In Australia, a sister duo works to widen consumer tastes for spuds. That and more when we come back.
Hurry in and shop Mathis Home today during the Monumental Savings Event for deals in every department. Get huge discounts on hundreds of sofas in all the latest styles. Come and see the latest looks in bedrooms and dining rooms at the lowest prices ever. You can get it all in stock with fast and free delivery. Even an incredible selection of patio and outdoor furniture so you can enjoy every part of your home. For the best service, selection, and value, don't miss out on the Monumental Savings Event at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, I have an important message about security. Write down the number on your screen so you can call when I finish. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. This is a lock for your life insurance, a rate lock that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. But be careful. Many policies you see do not have one. But you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. Call this number to learn more. This plan was designed with a rate lock for people on a fixed income who want life insurance that fits their budget and is simple to get. Coverage options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. Act now, and your rate will be locked in for life. It will never increase, guaranteed. This is lifelong coverage that can never be canceled as long as you pay your premiums, guaranteed. And your acceptance is guaranteed, with no health questions. You cannot be turned down because of your health. Call for your information kit and read about this rate lock for yourself. You'll also get a free beneficiary planner. Both are free with no obligation. Don't miss out. Call for information, then decide. Read about the 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. Don't wait. Call this number now.
Call now and you'll also get this free beneficiary planner. Use this valuable guide to record important information and your final wishes, and it's yours free just for calling. So don't wait. Call 1-800-357-4821 for your free information. That's 1-800-357-4821. There's no risk or obligation. That number again is 1-800-357-4821. That's 1-800-357-4821. 1-800-357-4821. Call now.
Discover the ancient secret to vitality and longevity with Puretang Black Ginseng. Crafted from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng, each root is carefully nurtured for over 2,260 days, undergoing a traditional 9-round handcrafted process of steaming and drying to unlock full potency and absorption. Experience pure natural energy with Puretang Black Ginseng. Order now at puretang.com.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Graney. This year, the Rome Opera House is celebrating its 125th anniversary of the first ever performance of Puccini's Tosca. Hidden away in a former pasta factory, the crew is busy rehearsing a new version of the Italian composer's masterpiece.
In what seems like an ordinary warehouse in the Eternal City, members of Rome's Opera House are busily adjusting costumes and preparing stage sets. This year, the group is celebrating the 125th anniversary of the first ever performance of Giacomo Puccini's opera, Tosca.
We make hand-tailored costumes with a true antique craft system, that is, with hand stitches. Nothing is glued, nothing is industrial. Clearly, a costume made in this way is a costume that will last over time.
The They don't have a digital archive system. Instead, they rely on the memory of the designers and tailors who work there.
We make new costumes, and we also keep old ones that we keep in our wardrobe, where we have around 70,000 costumes from the start of the 1900s to today.
For the anniversary, Biagiotti's team is reconstructing the original costumes designed by Puccini's costume and set designer Adolf Hohenstein. Biagiotti scoured the archive at the Casa Ricordi in Milan, a publisher of classical music and opera.
We researched all the figurines that exist at the Casa Ricordi. Fortunately, all the figurines of each costume still exist and are very detailed, and we have reconstructed them, trying to respect as much as possible the flavor of the time, from the point of view of fabrics, shapes, and all the materials used, even for the details.
Monia Colarossi is a tailor working on the costumes for the 125th anniversary. She says she prefers the challenge of working with historic costumes.
Let's say when you come in here, you learn the tricks of the trade. Because yes, the school can teach you, can give you the notions. But our work, unfortunately, either for better or for worse, you learn it on the work table. Because there is no teacher who can tell you how you should put the needle or how you should put the thimble.
At the center of the opera is the dark-haired protagonist, Tosca, who is forced to murder her antagonist to protect her dignity and the man she loves. Rome Opera House musical director Michele Mariotti says the masterpiece evokes the essence of the Eternal City.
For Rome, Tosca is an excellence. Tosca is Rome. It represents Rome because it is a Roman opera. It smells of Rome. It smells of its streets, squares, and corners. It is just as marvelous as Rome is. It is a thriller that really leaves you with bated breath.
Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And a violin crafted in a World War II concentration camp has been discovered in Hungary. Initially, the finders didn't know what they had stumbled upon until they found a secret message inside. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the unique instrument.
When Hungarian art collectors Sandra Katona and Thomas Tolossi bought this old violin, they had no idea of its historical value. The couple ultimately decided to donate it.
We thought of giving out this violin as a gift with great pleasure to someone in the town. He cleaned the instrument a bit and gave it back to us, saying that the violin has such a big sound. Others in his family can't hear the TV.
The quality of the violin provided a clue to its origins. Soon the owners knew they had a historical artifact.
A professional violin maker always paid special attention in choosing quality wood. But this instrument clearly shows that the choice of wood was a little bit, let's say, rough. And when our friend tilted the violin properly and looked through the F-hole, which we did not do, then he read the name of the maker as Franz Kempe, 1941. And the main point was down there, K.L. Dachau.
The restorer decided to completely disassemble the violin. Inside, there was a hidden note from its maker, Polish prisoner Franciszek Franz Kempe.
Kempe wrote with his handwriting, trial instrument, made under difficult conditions with no tools and materials, K.L. Dachau, anno 1941, Franciszek Kempe.
After the discovery, Katona and Tolossi contacted the Dachau concentration camp memorial museum in seeking further information about the maker of the violin. What they got back made Katona emotional.
I received an email during a lunch break. It contained the photo of Kempe along with some documents. It was shocking. I remember bursting into tears. I called Tamaz and he had a pretty similar reaction.
Located near Munich, Dachau was the first concentration camp established by the Nazis in March 1933. According to documents provided by the museum, Kempe survived the war and returned to his native Poland. The Holocaust survivor continued making instruments before dying in 1953. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
There are around 5,000 potato varieties worldwide, and in Australia, many shoppers struggle to distinguish the vast array of produce available. Here's more on a potato duo working to widen our taste for spuds.
In Australia, potatoes are big business. The spud industry is worth around $600 million annually, but choice for consumers is limited. For the past 35 years, Spud sisters Pharrell and Catherine Ramage have been trying to broaden consumer taste.
At a supermarket, they'll only be offered a washed potato or an unwashed potato or a red potato and a white potato. And then quite often you'll see a lot of misinformation.
The Spud sisters say the majority of consumers don't even know about the best potatoes available. The right variety can make or break a recipe.
We will have from the waxiest potato to the starchiest potato. They've all got their own texture, and once people buy the right potato for the dish that they're cooking, they've all got beautiful flavour, then it makes the dish sing.
Some lesser-known potato varieties include the King Edward and Midnight Pearl. For the Spud sisters, choice trumps aesthetics.
The cookier the potato, the better for us. Yeah. But we're all about championing what doesn't necessarily look nice, but tastes nice.
Whether mashed, baked, or fried, Australians have a lot to choose from, and variety is key, as the nation's residents consume 37 pounds of spuds every year. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
There you go. And the world's oldest restaurant is celebrating 300 years in business. In the heart of Madrid, the eatery takes diners back in time. Let's take a look.
This is Botín. The restaurant in the Spanish capital of Madrid is celebrating 300 years of fine dining. Known for its suckling pig, the attraction draws tourists, celebrities, and world leaders from around the globe.
My mom, Chloe, she did the research and wanted to make it part of our family vacation here, and so really excited to get to delve into the history of the restaurant and kind of get a real authentic experience of Spain.
Botín was first opened by a French chef, Jean Botín, and later run by his nephew. Back then, customers brought their own ingredients, and the kitchen cooked them.
That is the oldest continuously working restaurant or operating restaurant in the world, yes. You know, we talked about how it's been only passed through two families only, right? That they only restore things, they don't renovate, they don't redecorate. So it's like jumping back in time.
Restaurant owner Jose Gonzalez explains how his establishment earned a Guinness World Record.
It's the oldest in the world because the Guinness World Record says so, based on 4 conditions. The first, it has been operating continuously. The second, in the same location. The third, with the same name. And the fourth, with the same activity.
One of Botín's most prized features is its wood-fired oven. Made of graphite and brick, it's never gone cold. Even during COVID lockdowns, staff kept the fire alive. Gonzalez describes what draws diners.
They come attracted by the history. I understand that especially back in the day, this was spread by word of mouth, which is impressive. We've had it for 60 years. We've never done advertising, nor do we decorate the walls with photos of the celebrities who have visited, which are hundreds that have passed through here, like in many places.
Ernest Hemingway helped make a name for Botín in the 1920s. The renowned American writer mentions the restaurant in his first novel, The Sun Also Rises, and his nonfiction work on bullfighting, Death in the Afternoon. Over the years, Botín has welcomed prominent visitors.
Well, many big personalities like Ava Gardner, for example. When she was filming The Barefoot Contessa, she would come here too. And indeed, barefoot, she would start dancing on top of a table. Frank Sinatra, a lot of singers and personalities from that time also passed through here.
Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And that's the latest for today. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Paul Graney. Have a great weekend.